Greetings and good evening, ladies and gents. This is Sugi JRPG here, and today we're going to be exploring some kick-ass mods for the original Final Fantasy VII. Last time we were exploring some great mods for FF9. In case you missed that video, I'm going to be linking that in the corner. So in order to get started with these mods, obviously we'll be needing Final Fantasy VII on Steam, and then secondly, I recommend downloading this 7th Heaven mod manager, which is very easy to install. You basically download the file and then install it, and then you basically choose a couple of directories, and then you just go into the catalog and start browsing for a lot of different mods that are basically available for the FF7. And that's basically how do you get started, but I'm also going to be leaving out a guide to basically how to set up your 7th Heaven in case those are not enough. You can always ask obviously in the comments how to basically set this thing up. So the very first mod on this list, and by the way, these are not in any particular order, and this is called Nino Style Battle. This was done by Tsunamix, Shiniboy, and Nino Style, and what it essentially does, it changes out the character models for the playable characters inside the battles. So whatever it's Cloud, Barret, Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, Vincent, etc. all of these basically have out new, completely redone textures, which are very highly influenced by Final Fantasy VII Remake style and some of the modern titles like the Advent Children, etc. So these are like totally different looking characters. These are not upscales of the original designs in the OG Final Fantasy VII game. So these are definitely influenced by FF7 Remake. Also, it does have a couple of optional settings here. For example, it also upscales certain bosses in the fight, and Turks, and also certain enemies. So I at least saw like a couple of the Shinra enemies were upscaled, and I have to say that they look very high definition compared to what they exactly used to look on the very original version of the Final Fantasy VII. So in case you want to really HD up your experience, it's definitely a mod you want to go for. Obviously, I do recommend getting a lot of other mods to compensate it, because it will look kind of weird if these are the only things that are HD and not the actual battle backgrounds and things like that. It also comes along with an optional update called the Angizer's Busticizer, and this basically changes out that all Cloud's weapons will be using the Buster Sword instead of something else. Even though that these are like new models or new textures, whatever you want to classify them as, they still use the same animations from the actual original models inside the combat. The next mod on the list is called the Nino Style Chibi. This was basically done by the same people, and what it does, it changes out the field and the world models for the characters. And oh boy, like when we look at the original models for Final Fantasy VII, they do look very, very outdated. And this basically creates out like all new models for Cloud, Tifa, and Barret, for example, but it comes along with a lot of like additional features as well. So all the NPCs inside the game are also like upscaled and retextures. For example, the members of Avalanche have a lot more similar accessories and designs what they have in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This also comes along with a couple of different types of options, such as having the change ability for the buggy, so you can change out what type of a color it actually looks like. You can change a bit about the chocobo. The high wind is also retextures now and a more high definition, so is the submarine and the Tini Bronco and the Gargo ship and Gelnica. So it comes along with a bunch of different types of field models, and also for the world map models as well. So definitely another one that you definitely want to get. The third mod on this list is a very special one. It is called the Echo S, and what it does, it adds a full voice acting to the game. Yes, full voice acting, all the NPC dialogues, all the story dialogue, and even the FMV cutscenes are now all voiced. And this was done by the Tsunamix team, which seems to be like a mix of fans and also some semi-professional voice actors. And I have to say, based on my playthrough, the little that I had, it seems pretty high quality, like even higher quality than some of these earlier PS2 JRPG games used to have. So I'm really impressed by the actual quality of the audio and the believability of that voice acting. Not all of the lines and everything were like absolutely perfect, but like, for example, the voice acting choices for Cloud and Barret and Tifa were really spot on, and Aerith, for example. So it was really impressive in my opinion, and it really brings out this like a whole new type of immersion to your playthrough when you're actually playing with the voices. Now this team is also now working on Final Fantasy IX, and there was actually a trailer that they launched like a week ago or something, and it looks very impressive, so I'm very excited now once their Final Fantasy IX voice acted launch will happen. But this is definitely something that will change fundamentally your gameplay experience if you're going to be deciding to go out with the Echo as mod.
Our employees like me would go to Midgar on a day like today.
Oh, you a Shima suit, son of a...
Next up on the list we have, this is an FPS mod done by Vertex, Obese Beer, and Kodarasha, and it's very self-explanatory. It gives you the ability to change the FPS on the field, on the world map, and also on the battle. Now I did some testing on this, and 60 FPS actually on the field and on the world map is rather nice. It makes it feel very smooth experience, but I have to say that using 60 FPS for the battle is just fundamentally way too fast, because some of the attack animations by the main characters and also by the enemies look very weird on 60 FPS, and it just like feels like you're fundamentally playing on a speed mode of sorts. Luckily there is an option on the FPS mode to toggle it to 30 FPS for the battle and also keep 60 FPS for everything else, and that's probably the best config you can choose for this specific mod. But I have to also say that even 30 FPS kind of feels tad fast on this fundamental battle system, because these games were not really designed to be like very high FPS to begin with on the PS1 console, and this is something that I fundamentally talked about a lot in my previous emulator videos, that it's not always very good to play these old games on very high FPS. So I maybe even toggled, if I had the option on the mod, to go with the normal battle speed and then just have 60 FPS on the field and the world map. I think that would be the best. I don't know what the original FPS on the battle was, maybe 20 FPS or something like, but I feel like the sweet spot probably would be 25 FPS or something like that on that caliber, but nonetheless it's actually a pretty nice mod altogether. And the very last mod on this list is by Axl Rose, which is actually a combination of two mods. So you have the Axl Rose Battle Scenes version 8, and then you have Axl Rose Blender version 1. And these are kind of like mods which are there to just enhance the experience of the battle scenes. And there's a lot of mods regarding these battle textures in general and anything like related to upscaling the battle backgrounds or changing them all together. And these mods are actually compatible with some of these existing mods already, so you can play around with them a bit. But basically what the Blender, for example, does, it fixes out a lot of these like shadow and lighting effects, so it kind of makes it look that the shadows and the lights are not like totally over the place like they were in the original PS1 version. And the one thing that you can clearly see is actually the battlefields, where the floor meshes are kind of like these tile-based things, and this basically like erases all of that and makes it look a lot more like a PS2 texture essentially. And the battle scenes basically kind of adjust the photo filters to kind of warm up the image textures on these things, and it's a bit more brighter colors. And these are kind of like a photoshopped version of the Yatoshi SYW paddle textures, which is another mod which you can I guess use this one. And some of these are also like AI upscaled battles textures from the original things. This is not a complete overhaul mod based on the release notes, 62% completion right now, so 55 out of 89 scenes have been done so far. And basically it's just like enhancing how these battle scenes look like. And then, as I said, not all of them are done yet, but the ones that have been reworked actually look pretty nice. But that is basically my rundown of my top 5 mods for Final Fantasy VII, the OG version. And obviously there are a lot more other really good mods. Probably in a future video we're going to be doing top 10 list, which is going to be including more mods. And I'm probably going to be doing a separate mod which will be just featuring a lot of these balance change things, which are also very interesting. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for other mod reviews and reviews in general about JRPG games. If you haven't subscribed already, maybe now is a good time to do so. Thanks for watching, and I will be seeing you soon on the next video. Cheers.